good, everyone? Welcome back to the Strong.Sistas YouTube channel.
Today's video is going to be jam-packed full of food. Really talking about the food today. We're always talking about food.
So we're going to show you guys a grocery haul for this week's carnivore-ish meals. We'll then include a discussion of why we are including these low toxic carbs and produce. And then we will also show a full day of eating carnivore-ish meals.
So the discussion is not why we're doing carbs, but rather why these carbs. So why these specific carbs within our grocery haul. Just as a note, we have all of our meats and our raw fats in our freezers from our full cow and from White Oak Pastures. So this is more of the miscellaneous items that we've picked up from the store or the local market or a local farmer. And let's show you what we got. Here is the spread. We have such a beautiful range of colors. Marshmallow agrees. So from our local farmer, we picked up some eggs. I love how she arranges them in this little bit of a
So
rainbow.
I call it a rainbow.
It's a rainbow in my eyes. It's wonderful. She has one green egg in both at the other end. We've got some raw goat milk.
So this is going to be we're going to experiment with this as one of our main carb sources this week. So this is some raw goat milk that was milked this morning.
Milk this morning. I just have to show you, I like this one the best with the pretty blue glass. Then we've got some produce. So we've got some strawberries and blueberries. Again, we really did enjoy the berries last week. We've got some carrots and then an assortment of squash that we'll review and some raw local honey. So we've got honey and then honeycomb. Two high carb sources that is absolutely freaking delicious. This is probably the favorite carb we ate last week.
For sure.
Ooh, focus.
And it's like totally carnivore, right? Like
It's
this
like
comes from the
basically
beef.
carnivore. Like basically.
So this week we're going to be experimenting with relying a lot more on like the carnivore carb sources, the raw milk and the raw honey.
Yeah, last week we were heavy on the squash and we're going to try a little bit heavy on the other stuff.
Yeah.
We shall say. Wow.
And then we are still going to include some of this sheep yogurt that we pick up at our local market, since it is literally just the sheep milk and some cultures.
It is pasteurized, so that is why we got so much milk so we could make our own yogurt. And just a note on the raw dairy, more cheese this week, more raw cheese.
So the squash options, we got the kabocha squash, kombucha, kombucha.
So I'm not sure why she keeps doing that because we're very clear it's kabocha at this point.
Okay, delicata squash, spaghetti squash, and butternut squash. We may not use all of these this week, but they will last in our kitchen. Sarah, what was your favorite squash last week?
By far, the kabocha.
The kabocha, definitely the favorite. All right, let's make plata number 1 of 3.
Just a public service announcement. It is perfectly okay to have ice cream for breakfast. So all this is raw goat's milk blended with some raw yolks and a lot of raw honey. So we've got a lot of healthy fats, proteins, and carbs in this breakfast, topped with some fresh strawberries.
Let's see, yo. All right, taste test of the ice cream. Oh my God.
Good?
Raw honey is so good.
I'm sure it just tastes like a ball of honey.
So good. Oh my goodness.
Enjoy that, girl. Ovaries. Wake up. We're eating breakfast.
Carbs.
Wake up. This is for you, ovaries.
All right, so we pulled out our chairs to have this little sit-down discussion. And as a reminder, both of our ovaries have just peaced out and said, we'll see you later. And they are currently not functioning.
It's not really that funny. So as part of our amenorrhea journey, we have already told you guys we're adding carbs back into our diet, which is what this whole video is about. So I'm sure if you haven't figured that out yet, you probably are on the wrong video.
So the carbs that we are adding back in, we are not necessarily focused on those being low carb sources. Instead, we're focusing on incorporating benign carb sources. So what do we mean by benign?
Benign as in the more relaxed, chillaxed carbs. So the ones that are lower in toxins compared to other plants that are higher in toxins, such as like green leafy plants,
like cruciferous vegetables. So if you think about plants, you know, they're rooted in the ground, they're stuck in the ground, but they don't want to be eaten. So they have to somehow fight off predators. So therefore they've developed chemical warfare through various anti-nutrients. And so these can cause a lot of problems for people with leaky gut or other immune issues. And so that's why an animal-based carnivore diet can be so powerful for these type of people, since it removes these toxins and anti-nutrients that are causing issues inside the body. All right, so first let's review the benign plant carb sources that we will be including. The first is squash. So I would consider squash to be a relatively benign carb source. Some people would argue that it's high in lectins, but the lectins are concentrated in the skin and the seeds. So therefore, skin and seeded. Are those verbs?
Remove the skin and take out the seeds. For example, with like a spaghetti squash, just once you bake it, scrape out those seeds with a fork and just use the insides of the squash. I love squash. I am your typical fall gal. You will find me with pumpkin in the fall. You can bet on that. But other squash include things like cucumbers and zucchinis, things you wouldn't really assume. They're part of what, like the cucumber.
So squash are part of the Cucurbitacea family. And so this is gonna include all squash varieties, which guys, like there's an endless amount.
You got pumpkin, you got butternut squash, you got kabocha, delicata, spaghetti, acorn.
The list goes on and on. We found mashed potato squash.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So find some squash in your local area. And like she said, the Cucurbitacea family also includes cucumbers and zucchini.
Quick note on the cucumbers. I personally am not going to be taking the seeds out of cucumbers.
No.
I feel like that would be just more hassle and more stress than what is worth. So instead, we made some pickles this past week, which we'll show on one of our plates today. That could be a good route to how you eat yo cucumbers.
All right, the next plant carb source we'll be incorporating include berries. So strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries. Some people would say that these are high in oxalates. I would say relative to other things, no. Apparently in that group of berries, raspberries are the highest oxalate berry. So if you are concerned about oxalate consumption, maybe just do the strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries.
Next benign carb source, produce-wise, we are incorporating our avocados and olives. These are the non-sweet fruits. I never used to think of an avocado as a fruit, but here we are. Olives, used to hate them, tried them recently, really like them. Both of those would be good for if you're still trying to stay in ketosis, because they're relatively low carb.
Very true.
So those are more just like benign, not necessarily carb sources.
Yeah, add some variety to your platters. The next group of benign carb sources we will be incorporating include tubers, so mainly sweet potatoes and carrots.
Tubers!
See, these are things that are below the ground, right?
I guess that's what's going on here.
And so we tried both carrots and sweet potatoes last week. Sweet potatoes were like okay. I wasn't the biggest fan. They are relatively high in oxalates relative to other items, not horrible. So some would also argue that carrots are also high in oxalate, but there are cooking methods to reduce the oxalate content of these tubers if this is something that you are concerned about.
We'll do a future video on the best cooking methods per produce, if that's helpful. And the next carbs we're going to be incorporating, which we showed you earlier, are some raw dairy. So this is so much variety. We've got raw butter, raw cream, raw yogurt we can make, raw kefir that we're going to experiment with soon. And this is a beautiful blend of carbs, fats, and protein. So it actually covers all of the macros.
We'll also be incorporating the raw honey, like we said. So similar to dairy, there's raw honey and there's processed honey, which I did not know about. And so we are going to be prioritizing raw honey so that it can maintain all of the beautiful vitamins and minerals that raw honey actually has, which has trace amounts of B vitamins and various minerals such as potassium, calcium, and magnesium, which is really cool. Raw milk, raw dairy, and the raw honey, those are technically carnivore carb sources if you are interested in staying full carnivore.
On the topic of honey, this one that we picked up, this raw honey, says nothing added, nothing taken away. So perhaps there is some backing to that whole eat your honey raw thing. Am I right?
You was right. Come look at this stew that we're making.
Ashley is Stew Master 3000. What's in here?
So this stew has some beef kidney, so you can see the beef kidney there, and then it has some carrots and some squash, some delicata squash.
In bone broth.
So beautiful.
It is beautiful, but a lot of people would be a little bit fearful because apparently carrots are high in oxalates.
So honestly, I was a little bit afraid of increasing my oxalate consumption with all these plants, but I found a really cool study that shows that dietary calcium helps your body reduce the amount of oxalate absorption, which is awesome. So basically it's saying that if you consume adequate amounts of dietary calcium, your body can reduce the amount that it absorbs dietary oxalate intake. And so this study was a human intervention trial study, and it showed that within a particular range of dietary calcium, the amount of oxalate absorption depended linearly on your calcium intake. Up to a certain number, I think it was like 1,200 milligrams of dietary calcium intake, then it didn't see any reduction in the amount of oxalate absorption. So this is saying if you are someone that is going to consume foods with oxalates, maybe it's a good idea to consider your dietary calcium intake. And for us, we're covering our bases with all of the dairy that we are consuming in our diet. Dairy is high in calcium. If you are someone that is sensitive to dairy, maybe try A2 dairy. And then if you are still sensitive to A2 dairy, there's plenty of other calcium sources such as like sardines. Then you can take a bone meal supplement, or you can munch on them bones after making bone broth.
Hey, wait. Sardines.
So summary, calcium is one of the best modifiers for whether or not your body is going to absorb oxalates. So I'm not concerned about the slight increase in oxalates that we are consuming with these additional plant sources because we're consuming dietary calcium intake.
My main two takeaways is that this stew smells boomin'.
Yeah.
And that you should have ice cream for breakfast because there's calcium in that dairy.
Boom.
Are we right, Gus?
We are making platter number 2, and we are going to try some of this raw honeycomb. So it's the same macros as honey, it's just straight carbs, and the only ingredient is honey. And on the side here, the label says, comb honey is the purest form of honey. Due to the nature of comb honey production, each square may vary by weight. Comb may contain cells of pollen, which can be eaten or discarded. Granulation is a natural occurrence, and comb honey should not be refrigerated. This is so cool. So we are going to top our yogurt with it because it's probably a little crunchy. So I'm going to take out a little square. I ain't never had no honeycomb before. Yeah, it's so cool. Look at this. Purest form of honey. I'm so excited. It's going to add a little bit of a crunch, a little bit of a different texture to our yogurt bowls. Time for platter 2. And guys, this is a rare occasion. Stacey and I have different things on a platter. Sometimes it happens.
It's uncomfortable.
Quick pause though. Look at how beautiful this tree is. I don't know what they are called, but they are in the Midwest. These beautiful
pink flowers, they bloom for like a week and then they go away, but it's worth it.
Okay, focus. Back to platter 2. We're gonna line up. Sarah goes first.
So the main course of this meal, I have 3 sunny side up duck eggs.
Duck boobs.
1 broke. You guys know how I feel about when my duck egg breaks, so we're not gonna talk about it. I've got 2 beef and lamb sausage that we made on a previous Sausage Saturday.
Sausage Saturday.
I've got some spleef meatballs that Ashley will talk about, and then some baked spaghetti squash, and then some raw kickapoo cheese.
You can go. All right, my platter. So I again have some baked spaghetti squash, and you'll think like, what is that red stuff? Is that marinara sauce? No, no, no. I'm not having nightshades. No, no, no. This is actually spleef juice from the spleef burgers. So guys, I'm gonna be honest, I have a thing for spleen. I like spleen, I'm a fan of it, so insert spleef burgers, spleen plus beef, okay? And so sometimes they drip this little red juice from the spleen, little pasta sauce on the baked spaghetti squash. So I said I didn't want duck eggs and I wanted spleef burgers, so I made a lot of spleef burgers. Your girl's got something for spleen.
And what is a meal without a dessert? So in these bowls, we've got some cherries, some blueberries, some sheep yogurt, and then this is that honeycomb that we busted out, and Ashley's got some.
I've got a little bit of raw beef suet. So my granola is like the raw beef suet and the crispy little honeycomb.
Let's eat yo.
Post platter 2 reflection. I enjoyed every single bite, It made me so happy and everything tasted amazing.
Your spleef burgers, they made her happy.
They did.
The honeycomb, just an update if you've never tried it, it's like you're eating honey that turns into suet. So like
Definitely a new favorite.
the honey, the sweetness is there, and then you keep chewing and you get down to the comb part, and that's like a bit of suet, and then you have to get through that. It's really, really delicious.
I feel so amazing right now.
Okay, well, that's all. Here are my pickles I made this week. So I just put some cucumbers in apple cider vinegar and water and salt, and voila.
I'm gonna do it again.
Same thing, same thing. More so. More. Okay.
Alas, it is time for platter number 3 of the day.
3?
Yeah, this is platter 3.
So weird.
Look at these beautiful plates filled with so many bioavailable nutrients. Again, we are relying on the animal proteins and animal sources for our micronutrients, but not gonna lie, these steamed, boiled, what did we do? Boiled carrots?
Boiled carrots.
Boiled carrots and kabocha squash look mighty delicious.
Good. So what do we have?
So we got the boiled carrots that we boiled for about like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're pretty soft. We've got some baked kabocha squash, some raw honey that is now going to be dripping with the steak, and I'm honestly really excited to eat some honey with my steak. That sounds amazing. Then a beautiful New York strip steak with this beautiful fat cap, some beautiful raw beef suet, some raw butter, that pickle, and then last but not least, guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend.
So carnivore Dippin' Dots are back. So we have decided to order these and add these back in. Since the sun is coming, we're getting a little bit more sun exposure to get that UV protection. Plus, now that we're adding in more carbs, probably a good idea to add a little bit more omega-3s, anti-inflammatory.
Oh no.
So carnivore Dippin' Dots. So that concludes our platters of
The day. That's gonna wrap up this video too, guys.
Yes,
so I'm
it
just gonna
is.
have Ashley close this out and
Thank
tell you what's
all
up.
so much for joining us today in this food-focused video. Let us know what else you guys want to hear about our carnivore-ish and amenorrhea healing journey in the link in the comments below. We hope to just inspire people to be open to evolving, be open to trying new things, and that there isn't one single path towards optimal health. So this is our pursuit for our optimal health journey. We are not saying that anyone else needs to incorporate these things on our plates.
No.
It's just making us feel pretty dang good, and it's so relieving to be opened up to these new benign carb sources. And
It's a whole new world. Beautiful.
Okay, until our next vlog, make sure you all are...
You best be subscribed. Tell them.
Where's the angel bell?